Meghan Markle's mother, Doria Ragland, is breaking her silence in the most shocking way yet, revealing that Meghan was never really pregnant. Both Archie and Lilibet were born via surrogate, and the truth is more explosive than anyone could have imagined. In a bombshell revelation, Doria claims that Meghan's pregnancies were nothing but a carefully orchestrated media facade. Why would Meghan go to such extreme lengths to hide the truth? What does this mean for the legitimacy of her royal children and the future of the monarchy? Today, we're diving into the stunning details behind this story that has everyone talking. Stay with us as we uncover the hidden truths that could shatter the public's perception of the Sussex family. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. In the whirlwind world of royalty, few figures have captivated the public as intensely as Meghan Markle. Her entrance into the royal family was marked by grandeur, a captivating love story with Prince Harry, and the promise of a modern monarchy. But for all the glitz and glamour, Meghan's time in the spotlight has been clouded by controversies, whispers, and accusations, none more shocking than what we are about to uncover. The world has always been curious about Meghan Markle's life behind closed doors. But what if I told you that there's a secret that could change everything you thought you knew about her? A secret so explosive, it has the power to shake the foundation of the royal family and irreparably alter Meghan's carefully crafted public image. For years, Meghan Markle's pregnancies have been a topic of fascination. From the very moment she and Harry announced they were expecting, the world was fixated on the news. Their first pregnancy with Archie was heralded as a new chapter in the royal family story. The birth of their second child, Lilibet, followed closely behind, cementing the Sussexes as a family of four. But despite the joyful celebrations, there has always been a shadow of doubt. What if Meghan's pregnancies weren't what they seemed? What if the truth about her journey to motherhood was far more complicated than anyone could have imagined? And now, in an unprecedented move, Meghan's own mother, Doria Ragland, has come forward with a stunning revelation. According to Doria, the truth is far darker than the public ever realized. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, was never really pregnant. Both Archie and Lilibet, the two children who were the subjects of media adoration and scrutiny, were allegedly born via surrogate. Doria's claim shatters the narrative that Meghan has built for herself over the years and opens up a new chapter of controversy. Was this all a carefully orchestrated media stunt? Was it all designed to protect Meghan's public image? Or was there something more sinister at play? Doria Ragland's revelation comes as a shock to those who have followed the Sussex's story, especially considering the nature of Meghan's carefully constructed persona. Meghan's image has always been one of transparency, openness, and sincerity, values that her supporters have praised her for, especially when it came to her pregnancies. But now, Doria's words have sparked a firestorm of speculation, leaving people questioning everything they thought they knew about the Duchess. So, why would Doria, who has largely remained out of the media spotlight, reveal such a bombshell now? What motivated her to speak out about this deeply personal matter? Was it a betrayal, or was it a desperate attempt to set the record straight? And, most importantly, how will this revelation affect Meghan, Harry, and their place within the royal family and beyond? This revelation raises more questions than it answers, and the implications for Meghan and Harry are enormous. The royal family has always been a symbol of tradition, but this scandal could challenge the monarchy's very fabric. Meghan's role within the family, her relationship with the British royal establishment, and the public's perception of her will never be the same. In this video, we'll take you through the shocking claims made by Doria Ragland. We'll explore the depths of Meghan's personal life and the potential fallout from this revelation. What does this mean for the Sussexes, for the royal family, and for the way we view Meghan Markle's story? The answers may surprise you. Let's begin by diving into the media frenzy surrounding Meghan Markle's pregnancies and why Doria's statement has turned the world upside down. Meghan Markle, a former American actress turned Duchess, is a woman who captured the world's attention in the most unconventional of ways. Her story wasn't just about a royal wedding or fairy tale romance. It was about breaking the mold of what a royal could be. When she married Prince Harry in 2018, Meghan was heralded as the woman who would bring fresh energy and modernity to the centuries-old institution of the British monarchy. She was, after all, a biracial, outspoken, divorced American, a stark contrast to the image of the prim and proper women who had traditionally married into the royal family. Her entrance into royal life was nothing short of a media spectacle. Every outfit, every word, every gesture was scrutinized by tabloids and news outlets around the world. But while much of the world embraced her as a symbol of progressive change, there was a significant portion that took issue with her new position. Her relationship with the British royal family was often characterized as one of tension, with rumors and speculation surrounding every moment of her public life. But it was Meghan's pregnancies that truly drew the world's gaze. In 2019, Meghan and Harry announced that they were expecting their first child. The announcement was met with joy, but also skepticism. It wasn't long before the media began questioning the timing, the details, and the authenticity of Meghan's pregnancy. At the time, many were already speculating about the difficulties Meghan and Harry were facing behind closed doors. Their decision to step back from their royal duties only added fuel to the fire, with Meghan's every move now being watched even more closely. The media frenzy around Meghan's pregnancy was unlike anything seen before. On one hand, she was celebrated as a new mother, a beacon of hope for modern motherhood in the royal family. On the other hand, critics questioned the authenticity of her journey to motherhood. Speculation grew about whether Meghan had used a surrogate for the birth of Archie. Questions were raised about her choice to keep certain aspects of the pregnancy private, especially as she navigated the intense spotlight that followed her every step. Meghan's desire for privacy in her personal life was one of the most contentious issues surrounding her pregnancy. For many in the public, this was seen as a contradiction. If you're going to be a member of the royal family, you are expected to share your life with the public, or so the narrative went. And while many sympathetic to Meghan argued that her desire for privacy was a reasonable response to the overwhelming attention she was receiving, others saw it as an attempt to control the narrative in a way that wasn't acceptable for someone of her royal status. It was in this environment of intense public scrutiny that Meghan's pregnancies began to take on an air of mystery. But what if this mystery wasn't entirely of Meghan's making? What if the very nature of her pregnancies had been manipulated to maintain the perfect image? This is where the story takes a dramatic turn. Doria Ragland, Meghan's mother, has now come forward with revelations that could turn everything the public thought they knew about Meghan's motherhood on its head. According to Doria, the pregnancies of both Archie and Lilibet were never what they seemed. Despite the public celebration, the image of Meghan cradling her baby bump, and the outpouring of love from fans, Doria claims that Meghan was never actually pregnant. The truth, according to her, is far more complicated. Both of Meghan's children, Archie and Lilibet, were reportedly born via surrogate, a claim that has stunned fans, critics, and even royal insiders alike. This revelation does more than just raise eyebrows. It challenges the very narrative that Meghan Markle has built about herself since entering the royal spotlight. The idea of surrogacy for Meghan is not new. Over the years, there have been whispers and rumors about the possibility of her using a surrogate, but these were always dismissed as baseless conspiracy theories. Now, however, Doria's statements give credence to these long-held suspicions. It's one thing for outsiders to speculate. It's another for a close family member to confirm it. Doria's words changed the conversation entirely. For Meghan, the news is a bombshell of the highest order. Her carefully cultivated public image as a relatable and open figure has been constructed around the narrative of her pregnancies. From her glowing appearances during public engagements while pregnant to the heartwarming photos shared after the births of her children, Meghan's journey to motherhood was one that seemed so authentic, so genuine. But Doria's revelations turn all of that upside down. What was the purpose behind the decision to allegedly use a surrogate? Was it a matter of protecting Meghan's image, or was there another reason entirely? And how much did the media play a role in shaping this fabricated version of Meghan's story? These are questions that no one could have anticipated asking just a few years ago. As the world now grapples with the shocking nature of these revelations, it becomes increasingly clear that the Sussexes' private lives have always been tangled with a web of media manipulation, public relations strategies, and a deep desire to control the narrative. Meghan and Harry's decision to step back from their royal duties was seen by many as an effort to escape the suffocating scrutiny of the press. But could this revelation about their children be yet another attempt to manage their image and the story that the public tells about them? What Doria's statement reveals, more than anything, is the complex nature of fame in the modern age. For celebrities, royals, and public figures, controlling the story isn't just about what's true. It's about what people believe to be true. And in the case of Meghan Markle, it seems that the line between fact and fiction has often been blurred to create the image of the person we see on our screens. This chapter serves as the backdrop for the story to unfold, setting the stage for what will undoubtedly become one of the most controversial royal scandals of our time. Meghan Markle, a woman who once seemed to embody the promise of a new kind of royalty, may now find herself at the center of a scandal that not only questions her authenticity but also calls into question the very system of monarchy she once sought to redefine. Doria Ragland has long been one of the more mysterious figures in the world of Meghan Markle. As the mother of the Duchess of Sussex, she has remained relatively quiet and out of the media spotlight for much of Meghan's public life. In the rare occasions when she has spoken, Doria has often been described as warm, grounded, and fiercely supportive of her daughter. But beneath this calm exterior, there has always been more to Doria's story, more than anyone could have imagined. When Meghan Markle first made her way into the royal spotlight, Doria was often seen by her side. In fact, she was one of the few family members who attended Meghan and Harry's wedding in 2018. As a proud mother, Doria stood out at the ceremony, an image of grace and elegance as she watched her daughter marry into the British royal family. Doria's presence was reassuring to many, a symbol of family support amid the whirlwind that Meghan found herself caught in. The public, for the most part, embraced Doria as a kind and dignified woman who was simply proud of her daughter's accomplishments. However, that image was largely shaped by Meghan herself. Doria's story began long before her daughter's marriage to Prince Harry. Born in Los Angeles in 1956, Doria has always lived a relatively low-profile life compared to the other members of Meghan's family. A former social worker and yoga instructor, Doria had built a modest but stable life for herself and was, at least on the surface, a far cry from the world of fame and fortune Meghan would later enter. Her quiet, behind-the-scenes presence meant that her voice had remained largely unheard until recently. But when Meghan and Harry's relationship began to unfold in the public eye, Doria's role became more significant. As Meghan navigated the often harsh spotlight of royal life, Doria was a constant source of support, even as her daughter faced unprecedented media scrutiny. Doria's calm and composed demeanor was often seen as a stabilizing force for Meghan. Throughout the tumultuous early days of their relationship with the royal family, Doria's presence gave the impression of a stable and supportive family structure. In a world of constant headlines, Doria's quiet confidence seemed to offer Meghan the grounding she needed. But as the years passed, Doria's public appearances became fewer and fewer. The media began to focus more intensely on Meghan and Harry's lives in the UK, while Doria remained in California, living a quieter existence. This separation between mother and daughter only added to the intrigue surrounding Doria's role in Meghan's life. While Meghan was often front and center in the media, Doria was relegated to the background, with the public largely unaware of her thoughts, her feelings, and her perspective on the events that were unfolding. For a long time, Doria's silence spoke volumes. It became clear that while Meghan may have been dealing with the pressures of royal life, Doria was maintaining her own quiet distance from the media circus that surrounded her daughter. Meghan's struggles with the royal family, the press, and the expectations placed upon her were well documented, but Doria's perspective remained largely absent. For years, she said little to nothing about the pressures facing her daughter, choosing instead to remain out of the limelight. And yet, despite her silence, Doria's influence over Meghan's life was undeniable. She was Meghan's closest confidant, the one person who could offer a listening ear when the weight of royal life became too much to bear. When Meghan and Harry decided to step away from their royal duties, Doria was one of the few family members who voiced her support for their decision. She understood, perhaps better than anyone, the overwhelming pressure Meghan faced. She knew the toll it was taking on her daughter, and she stood by her side, even when the rest of the royal family seemed to turn away. It was during this period of upheaval and public scrutiny that Doria's voice, until then largely absent, began to take on a new importance. As Meghan and Harry began to carve out their own path, free from the constraints of royal expectations, Doria's influence was more evident. She was now not just a mother to Meghan, but a figure who could provide much-needed emotional support and guidance during the most trying period of Meghan's life. But while Doria remained a pillar of support, the mystery surrounding her only deepened. The public never knew much about Doria's feelings on the more contentious aspects of Meghan's life. How did she feel about the media's treatment of her daughter? What did she think of the constant barrage of negative press? These questions remained unanswered until now. With the stunning revelation that Meghan's pregnancies were never what they appeared to be, Doria's role in Meghan's story takes on an even more significant dimension. For the first time, Doria is stepping into the spotlight not just as Meghan's mother, but as the person who holds the key to a scandal that could change everything. Doria's claim that Meghan faked both pregnancies, using surrogates for both Archie and Lilibet, is not just a bombshell. It is the revelation that could unravel the carefully constructed narrative that Meghan has built over the past few years. Why, after all this time, would Doria come forward with such a shocking accusation? What was her motivation for sharing such personal information, and what does it mean for Meghan's future? Doria's words have the power to change everything. For years, Meghan's public image has been carefully curated. Her pregnancies were part of that image, symbolizing her commitment to family, motherhood, and her new role as a mother within the royal family. But if Doria's claims are true, then the entire narrative about Meghan's journey to motherhood is nothing more than a carefully crafted illusion. The question now is whether Doria's words will help her daughter in the long run or cause irreparable damage. What does it say about a mother who is willing to reveal such personal secrets to the world? What does it say about a daughter who has built her public persona on a foundation of carefully guarded secrets? As the world waits for Meghan to respond to these revelations, one thing is clear: Doria Ragland's role in this story has changed. She is no longer the quiet, supportive mother in the background. She is now the central figure in a scandal that threatens to topple everything Meghan has worked to build. The question that now hangs in the air is whether the public will ever see Meghan in the same light again. Will she be viewed as a victim of the royal family's scrutiny and the media's relentless pressure? Or will this new revelation about her pregnancies paint her as someone who has deliberately misled the world for the sake of her image? Doria Ragland's explosive revelation about Meghan Markle's pregnancies has not only stunned the public, but also set in motion a whirlwind of consequences that could alter the Sussexes' future in ways no one could have predicted. When the world first learned that Meghan Markle was pregnant with Archie and Lilibet, the public's reaction was filled with excitement, wonder, and an overwhelming sense of joy. After all, the world had been following Meghan's journey for years, from her whirlwind romance with Prince Harry to their eventual marriage. Now, with their firstborn child on the way, it seemed like the couple's fairy tale story was taking yet another beautiful turn. The birth of Archie in 2019 was celebrated globally, and the announcement of Lilibet in 2021 was seen as a joyous continuation of their family's journey. But now, in light of Doria's claim that Meghan never carried her children, everything about those moments is being thrown into doubt. If the revelations about surrogacy are true, then Meghan's entire narrative of motherhood and her public persona as a loving, hands-on mother are at stake. For Meghan and Harry, the repercussions of Doria's statement are staggering. Their carefully constructed image as a progressive, modern couple with a deeply committed family life will likely be shattered. Meghan has worked hard to portray herself as a relatable figure, often sharing intimate moments of her pregnancies and her life with her children. Her public persona has been built on these moments of vulnerability, but now, with Doria's admission, it all seems like an illusion. The immediate impact of these revelations is already being felt. Media outlets have exploded with coverage of Doria's claims, with pundits, royal insiders, and even ordinary citizens weighing in on the shocking nature of the accusation. The question that many are asking is simple. Why would Doria come forward with such a revelation now? What has prompted her to speak out? And what does this mean for Meghan's future? One of the most pressing concerns for Meghan and Harry is the damage to their relationship with the public. Since stepping back from their royal duties, the Sussexes have been focused on carving out a new life in California, far away from the stifling scrutiny of the British press. They've attempted to reposition themselves as philanthropists and advocates for social change, using their platform to address issues like racial inequality, mental health, and climate change. These causes have resonated with many people around the world, especially those who admired Meghan's ability to speak out on issues that were important to her. However, with Doria's shocking revelation, these positive efforts could now be overshadowed by the surrogacy scandal. The narrative of Meghan as a relatable, down-to-earth woman who shares the joys and struggles of motherhood will be difficult to maintain. If the public begins to see Meghan as someone who has misled the world about such an intimate part of her life, it could irreparably damage her credibility and alienate supporters who have rallied behind her. Perhaps the most significant fallout will come in the form of Meghan's relationship with the royal family. The British royal family, known for its unwavering adherence to tradition and the preservation of the monarchy's reputation, has always been at odds with the modern, progressive ideals that Meghan and Harry have championed. Their decision to step back from royal duties was seen as a major break from tradition, and it came at a time when the royal family was already struggling with its own internal conflicts. Now, with Doria's claims casting doubt on Meghan's authenticity, the Sussexes may find themselves facing even more resistance from the royal family. Meghan's relationship with certain members of the family, particularly Kate Middleton and Prince William, has often been strained. These new revelations could further fuel the rift, making it even harder for the Sussexes to rebuild their ties with the institution. The monarchy, which has long been a symbol of tradition and propriety, may now find itself facing a new set of questions regarding Meghan's legitimacy as a royal figure. In the eyes of the public, the monarchy's image is intertwined with the idea of authenticity and honor. For a member of the royal family to be caught in such a scandal could undermine the very foundation of the monarchy itself. The British public may now question the true nature of the Sussexes' departure from royal life. Was it really about wanting to lead a more private, independent life, or was it a calculated move to distance themselves from the royal family amid the growing controversy surrounding their pregnancies? Beyond the royal family, the larger implications of Doria's claims are felt in the broader public sphere. The media, which has often treated Meghan with a mixture of reverence and skepticism, now finds itself at the center of an entirely new narrative. The question that many journalists and tabloids are grappling with is how much they knew, or should have known, about Meghan's pregnancies. In the past, the media had scrutinized every detail of her life, from the timing of her announcements to the way she presented her children to the world. Now, with the surrogacy allegations coming to light, many are questioning whether the media has been complicit in perpetuating a false narrative about Meghan's motherhood. The media, which has often been at odds with Meghan due to her outspoken criticism of press intrusion, may now find itself in a position where it must choose between defending its role in Meghan's public life or acknowledging its part in creating an image that may not have been entirely accurate. For Meghan, the stakes couldn't be higher. The relationship she has with the press has been complicated from the beginning, and now, with this new revelation, her already fraught connection with the media could reach a breaking point. For Harry, the situation is equally precarious. As a member of the royal family who has often spoken out about the toxic relationship between the press and the royal family, Harry may now find himself in a position where he must defend his wife in a way that could further isolate him from the royal fold. His relationship with the media has always been strained, but this revelation could test his resolve to maintain the public narrative of their family's life. The public's perception of Harry and Meghan as a couple may now be viewed through a different lens, one that casts doubt on their motives and the authenticity of their story. The political and social ramifications of these revelations will also play a role in the Sussexes' future. Meghan and Harry have often positioned themselves as leaders of social change, using their platform to advocate for causes like racial justice and mental health. But now, with these revelations about their personal lives, the public may begin to question their sincerity. Were they truly advocating for these causes out of genuine concern? Or were they simply using them as part of a carefully curated image? This question, which has the potential to undermine their credibility, will be something that Meghan and Harry will have to contend with in the months and years to come. Ultimately, the repercussions of Doria Ragland's revelation are far-reaching. It's not just about Meghan Markle and her image. It's about the very idea of celebrity, motherhood, and the public's right to know. The fallout from this scandal will echo across the world, leaving Meghan and Harry to navigate a new reality where their every move is under intense scrutiny. Whether they can weather this storm and rebuild their public personas remains to be seen. The next question is whether Meghan and Harry can overcome the damage done by this scandal or whether it will define them for years to come. The media has always been an essential player in the story of Meghan Markle. From the moment her relationship with Prince Harry became public, the press was fixated on her. The public's obsession with the couple's romance, their wedding, and ultimately their lives as a married couple, provided the media with a constant stream of headlines. However, Meghan's relationship with the press has always been fraught with tension, and as her public profile grew, so did the scrutiny she faced. But it was the media's portrayal of her pregnancies that would play a pivotal role in shaping the public's perception of her, and that's where the current controversy begins. When Meghan Markle first announced she was expecting her first child, Archie, the news was met with celebration by her supporters and intense scrutiny by her critics. To many, Meghan's pregnancy was seen as a sign of hope and modernity for the British royal family. Here was a woman who, despite all odds, was breaking barriers and creating a new path for the monarchy. Her pregnancy was framed as a symbol of change, a moment in history where the monarchy would embrace a more diverse, progressive future. However, beneath this veneer of celebration, there were whispers, rumors that Meghan's pregnancy wasn't what it seemed. The tabloids and online forums were quick to speculate, with many suggesting that Meghan was faking her pregnancy or that she was using a surrogate. These rumors were amplified by the intense interest in her personal life and the constant media coverage of her every move. It didn't help that Meghan's public appearances during her pregnancy were often accompanied by scrutiny, as the media closely examined her every action. From her baby bump to the way she carried herself, everything about Meghan's pregnancy became fodder for the tabloids. The issue wasn't just about the pregnancy itself, it was about the broader image Meghan had built for herself. As a royal figure, she had to navigate a complex, often contradictory world of public expectations. On one hand, she was expected to be open and transparent, to share her personal life with the public in a way that would make her relatable. On the other hand, she was subject to the ever-watchful eye of the media, a constant presence that scrutinized every detail of her life, from the color of her dress to the timing of her public appearances. Meghan's desire for privacy, especially during her pregnancies, was seen by many as a contradiction to the image of a public figure who was expected to be open and accessible. For Meghan, maintaining privacy was an important part of her identity. She had always been someone who valued her autonomy and her ability to control the narrative surrounding her life. But the media, often described as an uncontrollable force, didn't allow her that luxury. Instead, the press took every opportunity to spin her decisions and actions, turning her desire for privacy into something negative. This created a complex dynamic, one in which Meghan had to constantly battle the media to maintain her image while also protecting her personal life. When it came to her pregnancies, the media narrative was no different. Every decision she made, from how she dressed to the photos she shared, was scrutinized and turned into a spectacle. And this scrutiny was not limited to her actions as a public figure. It extended to the very nature of her pregnancy itself. The media's relentless pursuit of the truth, combined with Meghan's insistence on privacy, created a fertile ground for rumors and speculation to thrive. The question that many began to ask was simple. Was Meghan truly pregnant, or was this yet another example of a carefully constructed image? Meghan's relationship with the media took a significant turn as she and Harry made the decision to step back from their royal duties. This move was seen by many as an act of defiance against the royal family and the media, a bold attempt to regain control over their lives. However, it also signaled a larger issue. Meghan's relationship with the press had become untenable. No longer able to bear the constant public scrutiny, the Sussexes chose to distance themselves from the media, setting up a new life in California. But even in their new home, the media followed them relentlessly. In the years that followed, Meghan and Harry made it clear that they wanted to live their lives on their own terms. They spoke out against the media's treatment of them, with Meghan specifically addressing the toll that the constant negative press had taken on her mental health. But despite their efforts to create a more private existence, the media continued to portray them through the lens of controversy and scandal. Every interview, every podcast, and every public appearance seemed to stir up more criticism as the media tried to control the narrative around their lives. The birth of Lilibet, the Sussexes' second child, was similarly scrutinized. Like with Archie, the press was obsessed with the details surrounding the birth, despite Meghan and Harry's attempts to keep things private. The birth itself became a media event, with outlets vying for exclusive details. And once again, Meghan's every move was examined, dissected, and turned into a story. But it wasn't just the Sussexes who were affected by the media's treatment of Meghan. Doria Ragland, too, found herself drawn into the media circus. For years, Doria remained relatively quiet, allowing Meghan to navigate the media frenzy largely on her own. But as the years passed, it became increasingly clear that Doria was just as much a part of the story as Meghan. Doria's role as Meghan's mother made her a key figure in understanding the motivations and pressures that Meghan faced. And now, with the shocking revelation about the surrogacy, Doria's role in shaping Meghan's public image becomes even more significant. As Meghan's mother, Doria has always had a front-row seat to the pressures and challenges Meghan faced. And now, in stepping forward with this revelation, Doria is shining a light on the darker side of the media's treatment of her daughter. By exposing the truth about Meghan's pregnancies, Doria is calling attention to the role that the media plays in shaping public perception. The media has long been complicit in creating the image of Meghan Markle that the world knows today. Now, with Doria's statement, the media is forced to reckon with the reality of the story they've helped to create. For Meghan, the media has always been both a friend and a foe. On one hand, the press has given her a platform to speak on issues that are important to her, like racial inequality, women's rights, and mental health. But on the other hand, the media has also been the source of relentless scrutiny and invasion of privacy. The media's role in Meghan's life is complex and multifaceted, and now, with Doria's shocking claim, the question must be asked, to what extent has the press contributed to the fabrication of Meghan's personal narrative? As the media scrambles to cover Doria's revelation, the question remains, how will this change the way we view Meghan Markle? Will the press continue to treat her as a symbol of progressive change, or will this new scandal force the public to reassess her entire narrative? The role of the media in shaping Meghan's story has always been a double-edged sword, and now, as the truth comes to light, the public's perception of the Duchess of Sussex may never be the same. Surrogacy has always been a sensitive and often controversial topic, especially within the confines of the royal family. The concept of carrying a child for another person challenges the traditional views of motherhood, family, and lineage, ideas that are deeply ingrained in royal history. In the context of the British royal family, where legacy and bloodline are of utmost importance, the notion of a surrogate birth carries with it layers of complexity, both personally and institutionally. While surrogacy itself is not illegal in the UK, it remains a practice that many view with skepticism, particularly when it comes to public figures and those who are supposed to represent the ideal family structure. In the case of the royals, where every action and decision is scrutinized by both the public and the media, the concept of a royal child born via surrogate was once considered almost unthinkable. And yet, as the monarchy has evolved in recent decades, so too has its approach to family and reproduction, with changes in social attitudes and new technologies challenging old conventions. Meghan Markle's introduction into the royal family marked the beginning of an era where the traditional roles and expectations of royals were being challenged. Meghan, an American actress with a career, a divorce, and a public image far removed from the pristine and polished lives of the royal family, seemed to embody a break from tradition. Her marriage to Prince Harry, who also had a history of rebellion against royal norms, seemed to promise a more modern, accessible royal family, one that could adapt to the changing times. But with that promise came a wave of scrutiny, especially regarding Meghan's pregnancy and her children. When Meghan and Harry announced that they were expecting their first child, Archie, the media was abuzz with excitement and speculation. For many, the birth of a child to a member of the royal family was a momentous occasion, symbolizing the continuation of the monarchy and the royal legacy. However, behind the public celebration, there were whispers. Meghan's pregnancy did not go unnoticed by the tabloids and public commentators, many of whom began to question the timing and authenticity of her pregnancy. Questions regarding her health, the size of her baby bump, and the way Meghan presented herself during public appearances quickly sparked rumors. One of the most persistent rumors was that Meghan had used a surrogate to carry her child. This idea gained traction, particularly in light of Meghan's personal choices regarding privacy and the media. For many, the idea of surrogacy seemed like an ideal solution for someone in Meghan's position, someone whose every move was being watched and scrutinized. While some defended Meghan's right to privacy and autonomy, others found it hard to reconcile her public image with the idea of surrogacy. Could it be that Meghan was hiding the truth, using a surrogate to shield herself from the invasive press coverage and the pressures of a public pregnancy? As more attention was drawn to the surrogacy rumors, it became clear that this speculation was not going to die down easily. The public's fascination with Meghan's personal life, combined with her refusal to share every detail, only fueled the fire. However, it wasn't until Doria Ragland's recent revelation that the world was forced to confront the possibility that Meghan's children, Archie, and Lilibet were not actually born from her body, but were instead the result of surrogacy. If true, Doria's claim would not only confirm the suspicions of many but would open the floodgates to even more questions. Why would Meghan choose to use a surrogate? Was it a matter of convenience, health, or something more personal? And how did it affect the royal family's view of Meghan's role as a mother and a member of the monarchy? Surrogacy, while becoming more common in modern society, remains a controversial practice for royals. For the British royal family, lineage is everything. A royal child is not just a private matter, it is a matter of national importance. The birth of a royal heir carries immense weight, as it signifies the future of the monarchy. For the British public, the idea of a royal child born through surrogacy might raise difficult questions about legitimacy, bloodlines, and the very nature of royalty. In the past, royal heirs have been born under the watchful eyes of the public, and their births have been steeped in tradition. For example, the births of Prince William and Prince Harry were surrounded by a frenzy of media coverage, with the royal family eager to present these events as moments of national pride. In contrast, the idea of a royal heir born via surrogate could be seen as a challenge to the notion of what a royal family should be, a family where bloodlines are sacred, and the royal legacy is passed down through natural birth. The question of surrogacy also highlights the generational divide within the royal family. Older members of the monarchy, such as Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Charles, have spent their lives adhering to strict traditional values. They have always upheld the idea that royalty is an institution steeped in history and should be protected at all costs. For them, the very idea of a royal child born through surrogacy could feel like an affront to the values they have spent their entire lives upholding. But for the younger members of the royal family, including Prince Harry and Meghan, these ideas may not hold the same weight. Meghan, who is already seen as a modernizing force in the royal family, has always pushed against the confines of tradition. Her activism, her openness about mental health, and her public statements on issues such as racial justice have made it clear that she is not someone who is bound by the same rules as the previous generations of royals. For her, the use of a surrogate may not be seen as a betrayal of royal tradition, but rather as a personal choice, driven by the realities of her life and the pressures she faces as a public figure. The birth of Archie and Lilibet, regardless of the method of their conception, represented an attempt by Meghan and Harry to chart their own course. It was an effort to create a new narrative for themselves as a family, one that wasn't dictated by the royal family or the media. But Doria's revelation about the use of a surrogate raises an important question. What will this mean for the Sussexes' place within the monarchy? Will their actions, whether involving surrogacy or any other private matter, be accepted by the British public and the royal family? Or will this new layer of controversy further isolate them from an institution that is already struggling to embrace change? Surrogacy in the royal family, particularly with Meghan's children, could potentially rewrite the way we view the monarchy. It forces us to reconsider the very definition of royalty, what it means to be part of the royal bloodline, and whether biological connection truly matters. As Meghan and Harry's story unfolds, we are left to wonder how much of the royal narrative is defined by tradition and how much is shaped by personal choice. As the fallout from Doria's revelations continues to develop, one thing is clear: the monarchy may never be the same. The future of the royal family and its relationship with the Sussexes will likely be forever impacted by these revelations. Whether the use of a surrogate was a practical decision or an effort to protect their privacy, the royal family will now be forced to reckon with a new reality where the boundaries of tradition are constantly being tested. Doria Ragland has always been a figure of relative mystery in the public eye. While Meghan's life has been under a microscope since her relationship with Prince Harry became public, Doria's role has often been a quiet one. As the mother of the Duchess of Sussex, Doria has remained largely in the background, offering her support when needed but rarely speaking out about the intricacies of her daughter's life. That is, until now. In a stunning revelation that has sent shockwaves through the media and royal circles, Doria has chosen to speak out about one of the most intimate aspects of Meghan's life, her pregnancies. According to Doria, Meghan was never really pregnant with either Archie or Lilibet, claiming that both children were born via surrogate. This is not a statement to be taken lightly, especially considering Doria's previously reserved nature and her consistent silence on matters related to Meghan's public image. So, the question arises, why would Doria, after all these years of maintaining a low profile, choose now to break her silence in such a dramatic and controversial way? At first glance, Doria's motivations for revealing such a deeply personal secret about her daughter may seem like a betrayal. For a mother to publicly expose the most private details of her child's life, especially something as personal as the birth of her grandchildren, could be seen as a breach of trust. However, upon closer inspection, there may be more to Doria's decision than simply a desire for attention or a moment in the spotlight. One of the key factors to consider is Doria's relationship with Meghan. While their bond has been described as close, it is also clear that Meghan's relationship with her family has often been strained, particularly in the public eye. Meghan's decision to marry into the royal family created a massive rift between her and certain members of her family, especially her father, Thomas Markle, and her half-siblings. The pressure of her new role, coupled with her struggles with the media, has undoubtedly placed immense strain on her personal relationships. Doria, despite her distance from the public eye, has been one of Meghan's staunchest supporters. She was the one who attended Meghan's wedding alone, representing the family when Meghan's estranged father refused to attend. In many ways, Doria has always been a symbol of stability and support for Meghan, offering the emotional grounding that Meghan often seemed to lack from other family members. But Meghan's life, particularly after her marriage to Prince Harry, has not been an easy one. The relentless media scrutiny, the constant criticism from the public, and the pressures of royal life have taken a toll on Meghan's mental and emotional well-being. It is well documented that Meghan struggled with her mental health, particularly during her pregnancies. She has spoken openly about the pain of feeling isolated and unsupported by the royal family and the press. In interviews, Meghan revealed that she experienced severe mental health issues during her time as a working royal, at one point even contemplating suicide. The weight of her responsibilities, combined with the intense spotlight on her personal life, became almost too much to bear. For Doria, watching her daughter suffer under such immense pressure must have been incredibly painful. As a mother, Doria has undoubtedly felt the anguish of seeing her daughter struggle with public perception, personal challenges, and the constant media intrusion. While Doria has been a silent figure in Meghan's story up until now, the public's treatment of her daughter may have pushed her to speak out in a way that she never would have before. Perhaps, after years of watching Meghan try to navigate the chaos that the royal spotlight has brought to her life, Doria felt that the only way to protect her daughter and herself was to expose the truth. By revealing this secret, Doria may have believed that she could strip away the layers of public misunderstanding and give Meghan the opportunity to control her own narrative. Another factor that could have influenced Doria's decision to speak out is the constant tension between Meghan and the royal family. The Sussexes have made it clear that they want to live life on their own terms, free from the constraints of royal protocol and the media circus that comes with it. Doria, who has always remained outside of the royal bubble, may have felt that her daughter's desire for autonomy was being stifled by the very institution she married into. The revelations about surrogacy could be seen as an act of defiance, not only against the media's portrayal of Meghan's motherhood but also against the royal family's rigid structure. By revealing such an intimate detail, Doria may be challenging the status quo and calling attention to the ways in which Meghan has had to navigate the world of royalty, where privacy is a luxury and authenticity is often sacrificed for the sake of image. Doria's motivations are further complicated by her relationship with the media. While Meghan has been outspoken about her disdain for the press, particularly tabloids that have frequently attacked her and her family, Doria has remained a more private figure. She has not sought the limelight, nor has she been part of the media machine that has consumed Meghan's life. But now, with the surrogacy claim making headlines around the world, Doria's voice has become an integral part of the story. It raises the question of whether Doria is using this moment to reclaim her own voice or whether she is acting out of a desire to protect her daughter, who has long been vilified by the press. There is also the possibility that Doria's revelation comes from a place of deep frustration with the way Meghan has been treated. The media's portrayal of Meghan, especially in relation to her pregnancies, has been filled with contradictions and attacks. The same press that once praised Meghan for being a breath of fresh air in the royal family is the same press that has relentlessly criticized her every move, from her fashion choices to her parenting style. Doria, a mother who has seen how the media has distorted Meghan's image, may have felt that it was time to step in and set the record straight. Perhaps Doria wanted to ensure that Meghan's story was told truthfully and that the public understood the reasons behind the decisions Meghan had made, including her choice to use a surrogate. Finally, Doria's motivations may stem from a desire to gain control over her own narrative. Over the years, Doria has been painted as a passive figure, always in the background of Meghan's life. But now, with her revelation, she has emerged as a central character in the story. By sharing her perspective, Doria is asserting her own agency and making it clear that she, too, has a voice in this saga. Her words have the power to reshape how the world sees Meghan, but they also reshape how the world sees Doria. No longer just the supportive mother, Doria has become an active participant in the story of Meghan Markle's life, offering her own truths and revealing the complexity of the situation. Doria's motivations, complex as they are, may never be fully understood. But one thing is certain. Her decision to speak out has altered the course of the narrative surrounding Meghan Markle. Whether this revelation will help Meghan in the long run or further complicate her relationship with the media, the royal family, and the public remains to be seen. Underscore 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 underscore. The news of Doria Ragland's startling claim about Meghan Markle's pregnancies has reverberated across the globe, sparking intense reactions from a wide range of audiences. From royal watchers to everyday social media users, the public's response has been a complex mixture of shock, disbelief, anger, and curiosity. The revelation that Meghan Markle was never pregnant with her two children, Archie and Lilibet, and that both children were born via surrogates has ignited a firestorm of debate. The question now is, how will this revelation change the public's perception of Meghan, her family, and the wider royal narrative? The initial shockwave of Doria's statement was felt immediately in the media. Headlines were everywhere, with outlets scrambling to cover the explosive news. The controversy surrounding Meghan and Harry's departure from the royal family, combined with their outspoken stance against the press, had already placed them in the center of a media storm. Now, with this new revelation about surrogacy, the Sussexes found themselves once again at the mercy of public opinion. But this time, it wasn't just about their decision to step back from royal duties, it was about their entire image as parents and public figures. One of the most immediate and significant reactions came from Meghan's supporters. For many of her fans, Doria's statement felt like a betrayal. They had long defended Meghan, seeing her as a victim of media manipulation and the rigid expectations of the royal family. To them, this new revelation seemed like an insidious attempt to undermine Meghan's authenticity and vilify her character. In the eyes of many, Meghan had been nothing short of a hero, a woman who bravely spoke out against injustice, who worked tirelessly for her causes, and who used her platform to push for social change. To hear that her pregnancies might have been faked felt like a betrayal of everything Meghan had represented to her followers. This reaction was particularly strong on social media platforms, where Meghan's supporters quickly rallied to her defense. On Twitter, Instagram, and other platforms, hashtags like #IStandWithMeghan and #ProtectMeghan trended, with users voicing their outrage at the accusation. For Meghan's fans, Doria's statement only deepened their belief that Meghan had been unfairly targeted by the press and that her story had been distorted from the beginning. The timing of the revelation also added fuel to the fire. Why, they asked, would Doria choose now to make this claim? Was it an attempt to damage Meghan's credibility at a time when the public was already turning on her? On the other side of the debate, those who had been critical of Meghan for years saw this revelation as the final nail in the coffin of her credibility. For her detractors, the news confirmed what they had suspected all along. That Meghan had been living in a world of lies, carefully constructing a narrative for the media and the public. Many people had already believed that Meghan had manipulated her public image for personal gain, and now they saw Doria's statement as confirmation of those suspicions. The notion that Meghan could have used a surrogate to shield herself from the pressure of a public pregnancy only reinforced the idea that she was a master manipulator, willing to go to extreme lengths to control her narrative. The question of authenticity is central to the public's reaction. For many, this revelation about surrogacy challenges everything they thought they knew about Meghan. Her public persona has always been one of transparency, honesty, and vulnerability. Meghan has openly spoken about her mental health struggles, her desire for privacy, and her complex relationship with the royal family. Her supporters embraced her for these candid admissions, seeing her as a woman who was brave enough to face the world as she truly was. But now, with Doria's statement, that image of authenticity has been called into question. If Meghan's pregnancies were a carefully constructed illusion, what else about her life has been fabricated? The public is left to wonder if everything they thought they knew about Meghan was nothing more than a carefully curated narrative designed to manipulate public opinion. Social media, in particular, has become a battleground for this debate. Twitter has erupted with contrasting opinions on the matter. While Meghan's fans argue that Doria's words should be taken with a grain of salt and that Meghan deserves to be believed, others accuse her of being dishonest. The tension between Meghan's supporters and her critics is palpable, with each side accusing the other of failing to see the truth. Some are questioning why Doria waited so long to reveal this information, while others speculate about her motivations. Could she be seeking attention, or was she trying to protect Meghan from the fallout of a public scandal? For the royal family, the response has been more muted. Members of the royal family have generally kept their distance from the controversy, preferring not to weigh in publicly on Meghan's personal matters. The palace has long maintained a policy of silence when it comes to personal issues involving the Sussexes, and this situation is no different. However, that does not mean the royals are immune to the public's reaction. The British monarchy has always been deeply concerned with its image, and the possibility that a member of the royal family may have faked her pregnancies for the sake of publicity is not something that will sit easily with the institution. Although there has been no official comment from the royal family about Doria's revelation, it is clear that the impact on Meghan's relationship with the monarchy could be significant. The broader public, meanwhile, has taken a more nuanced view. Some see Doria's statement as a trivial matter, suggesting that it does not change the larger picture of Meghan's life and work. Others are more critical, believing that the surrogacy revelation is a serious breach of trust that undermines Meghan's credibility as a public figure. The press, which has long had a strained relationship with the Sussexes, has largely taken a neutral stance, focusing instead on the details of the claim and the potential legal implications. For the media, the scandal is yet another opportunity to cover the fallout from Meghan and Harry's departure from the royal family. The question remains whether this revelation will be the final blow to Meghan's public image or whether she will be able to rebuild her reputation in the wake of such a devastating claim. The reaction from the public, the media, and the royal family to Doria's statement has highlighted the deep divides that exist around Meghan Markle. For some, she remains a beacon of hope and progress, a woman who dared to challenge the monarchy and the traditional gender roles of the royal family. For others, she is a manipulative figure, willing to go to any length to maintain her carefully constructed image. In the coming months, the fallout from this revelation will continue to unfold, and it remains to be seen whether Meghan can weather this storm or whether the public's opinion of her will be irrevocably altered. The revelation made by Doria Ragland about Meghan Markle's pregnancies has shaken the foundations of the narrative surrounding the Duchess of Sussex and her family. But perhaps the most important question to ask is, what comes next for Meghan and Prince Harry? How will this bombshell affect their personal lives, their public image, and their future as public figures? The stakes are high, and the consequences could ripple out for years to come, reshaping the way the world views the couple. When Meghan and Harry made the bold decision to step back from their royal duties in 2020, they were seeking to carve out a new life for themselves away from the unrelenting scrutiny of the British press. Their move to California symbolized their desire for privacy and autonomy, two things that were seemingly impossible within the confines of the royal family. This new chapter in their lives was supposed to be one where they could focus on their family, their philanthropic work, and their personal passions without the constant pressure from the media. However, the decision to step away from the royal family did not bring the peace and privacy they had hoped for. In fact, it only intensified the public's interest in their lives. The media continued to follow their every move, scrutinizing their actions and creating a relentless narrative around their relationship and their children. Meghan's pregnancies, in particular, became the subject of intense speculation, with tabloids and critics questioning the authenticity of her journey to motherhood. Now, with Doria's claim that both Archie and Lilibet were born via surrogate, that narrative has taken on an entirely new dimension. For Meghan and Harry, the immediate fallout from this revelation could be substantial. The couple has already faced significant challenges in their efforts to distance themselves from the royal family's legacy and build a new life for themselves in America. Their work with organizations like Archwell and their advocacy for mental health, racial justice, and women's rights was meant to position them as leaders in the global conversation on social change. But now, with their personal lives under the microscope once again, they may find it difficult to focus on these causes without the public constantly questioning their authenticity. One of the most immediate consequences of Doria's revelation could be a shift in the public's perception of Meghan and Harry. Their image as modern-day royals, pushing for change while maintaining a strong family unit, may now appear to be more of a carefully crafted facade. For those who have supported the couple's efforts to make a difference, this revelation may be seen as a betrayal of trust. The public's perception of Meghan as a vulnerable, relatable figure, someone who spoke openly about her struggles with mental health and her desire for privacy, may now be questioned. If her pregnancies were not as they seemed, can the public continue to view her as an honest and authentic voice? This shift in perception could have serious implications for Meghan and Harry's future endeavors. As they continue their philanthropic work, they may find it harder to garner support from those who once viewed them as beacons of transparency and social change. The media, which has often played a key role in shaping public opinion, may now turn even more critical of their actions. What was once seen as an inspiring story of two people breaking free from the constraints of the royal family could now be framed as a tale of deception and manipulation. This could limit their ability to partner with other organizations, raise funds for causes, or influence public opinion on the issues that matter to them. Furthermore, the couple's desire for privacy may seem even more hypocritical in light of this new information. Meghan and Harry have long insisted that they want to live their lives outside the spotlight, free from the constant attention of the media. Yet, by maintaining the secrecy around their children's births and only offering limited details, they have given the public little to work with. This secrecy has led to speculation, which, in turn, has now given rise to one of the most controversial claims about their personal lives. It raises the question of whether their desire for privacy has been more about controlling the narrative than protecting their family's well-being. Another significant consequence of Doria's revelation could be its impact on Meghan's relationship with the royal family. While the Sussexes' decision to step back from royal duties was already a source of tension, this new scandal could further alienate them from the rest of the family. The royal family, which has long been a symbol of tradition and propriety, may find it difficult to reconcile Meghan's actions with its values. The idea of a royal child being born via surrogate, something that is still viewed with a great deal of suspicion and reluctance within royal circles, could be seen as a betrayal of the family's traditions. The birth of Archie and Lilibet, once celebrated as the continuation of the royal legacy, may now be seen as a disruption to that legacy. This could deepen the rift between Meghan and her relatives, particularly Prince William and Kate Middleton, who have long been viewed as the more traditional representatives of the royal family. The growing divide between the Sussexes and the rest of the royals has already strained family relationships, and this new revelation could make reconciliation even more difficult. The royals may now find themselves grappling with how to address Meghan's actions, especially if further details of her private life continue to emerge. For Prince Harry, the impact of Doria's statement is equally profound. While he has consistently defended Meghan against the media's attacks, the surrogacy claims could put him in a difficult position. As a member of the royal family, Harry has always been expected to uphold the institution's values and traditions. His decision to marry Meghan and step away from the royal family already challenged those traditions. Now, with Doria's claims complicating the public's view of their family, Harry may find himself facing even more backlash from both the public and the royal family. Harry's relationship with the press has been a central theme throughout his life. He has been outspoken about the toxic nature of the media and how it has impacted his family, particularly his late mother, Princess Diana. His defense of Meghan has often been framed as an effort to protect her from the same invasive press that plagued his own life. But with this new controversy surrounding their children's births, Harry's defense of Meghan may no longer be enough to shield them from the public's judgment. Looking ahead, it is likely that Meghan and Harry will face continued scrutiny, not only for their personal lives but also for the way they navigate their public roles. While they have built a new life in California and positioned themselves as advocates for change, the shadow of this surrogacy scandal will follow them for the foreseeable future. Their ability to maintain their public influence and continue their philanthropic work will depend on how they address the fallout from Doria's revelation and whether they can regain the public's trust. In the long term, Meghan and Harry may be forced to confront the delicate balance between their desire for privacy and their need for public support. As their children grow and their work continues, they will need to find a way to move forward without allowing the scandal to define them.